Well, shooters and reloaders out there, it's Fortune Cookie coming to you from the hot lead zone, and I'm going to take a break working on my radio-controlled car, the Fox 32 car, and make a video for Jeff Thomas. That's Jeff Thomas, and he has a question that how do you avoid getting bullet bulges on our reloaded ammo? Well, of course, we don't like bullet bulges because they make our ammo look kind of amateurish. So the first thing we have to do is to identify what bullet bulges are. So let's get away from my RC car for a little while and go back to something we more recognize. Look at that nice powder coating. Not bad, huh? Well, anyway, getting back to the bulges, what you see here are 4 factory rounds, and where we'll see bulges in ammunition is either right here close to the head of the case, right inside where the web of the case is inside. There could be a little bulge here, or you'll see a bulge caused by the bullet being seated and the base of the bullet making a bulge of the case right about there. Now with factory ammunition, there will not be any bulges near the case head. The reason why is that's factory fresh ammunition, factory fresh brass that has never been fired, so it never expanded into a chamber where it required it to be resized back down and perhaps leaving that bulge from the resizing operation. These did not need to be resized because it was new brass, so we would not expect to see any bulges near the case heads, and in fact we don't see any. It's perfect here. So one of the advantages of factory ammunition, it uses perfect brass. Now, the bulges near the bullet though can show up on factory ammunition. This is a Smith & Wesson 45 ACP round with a 230 grain full metal jacket bullet, hardball. If you look carefully, you'll see a little bulge right there where that bullet is seated, and it makes a little bulge from the bullet base. Very slight, but you can see it there. This happens to be a 38 Special Winchester 110 grain silver tip, and you can see a little hint of, right there, of a bulge from the bullet base there. This happens to be a Winchester 110 grain 30 carbine round from 1943, war years. And there's a little hint of a bulge right there from the 110 grain bullet being seated. Finally, this one is a 147 grain 38 Special Federal Hydroshock. And you can see right there a little bulge from the bullet base. But what they did was they put a cantilever just underneath the base of the bullet to smokescreen that little bulge, because they can't have factory ammunition looking like it's got bulges in it. You don't pay for that when you buy factory fresh ammunition. The cantilever supports the base of the bullet against any chance of the bullet moving farther into the case, and then the crimp up here also prevents any movement of the bullet either fore or aft. And neck tension in all these bullets applies to retain the bullet into the case. So you see, even in factory ammunition, look carefully, you'll see the bullet bulges caused by the base of the bullet. Now our reloads are a different story. We can have bulges in our loaded ammunition caused by either of these factors. Let's go into that. Now to illustrate what happens with our reloads when we get these bulges near the case head, here are 2 .357 Magnum reloads. And you can see the little bulges near the case heads. Now what causes that is the .357 Magnum is a high intensity round, and the case gets blown out to fill the chamber when the round goes off, and then that blown out brass is resized by our sizing die and has to be squeezed down smaller. If our sizing die doesn't quite size all the way down to the web of the case level, then you'll leave yourself that little bulge right down there near the case head. Now this can be made worse by two factors. If our die, like right here, is not adjusted to go all the way down to touch the shell holder, then you're going to short size the case and leave yourself more chance of leaving that bulge, because you want to size the case all the way down to the web of the case, and if you do that you won't get that bulge because it's all resized away. Now in fact, in rifle ammo, if this is a problem, we can get small base dies that'll do a better job of resizing down here, and that'll increase function plus get rid of the bulge. Now the other factor that causes this is a lot of our current dies are made so that there's a little funnel down here near the edge of the inside of the resizing. Now what that does is it causes cases to better enter the die when you're running progressive presses. And a lot of our die companies have done that. They've kind of beveled the inside of that case mouth to increase the ease of cases going in. But that little funnel causes a little loss of resizing down here and will leave the bulges. Turns out that Lee makes a bulge buster die that actually will resize all the way down to the head here and get rid of the bulges in this area. So if that's important to you, you can go ahead and get that Lee bulge buster die, but they don't make that in all calibers. Well, first I'd like to apologize to Jeff Thomas because it sounds like from his comment and question that he left that he's doing things right. He's using store-bought bullets and he's using good dies and this kind of thing, and I'm sure he knows how to adjust the die. But just to go over this anyway, you'll see that when I raise the shell platform, this should contact the resizing die. Not just barely contacted, but nice and snug. So if you go ahead and check this, and what I'll do is hold this die lock ring and then start turning this die, and lo and behold, there's some extra play there. So I didn't have this quite adjusted all the way down. If you don't adjust this die to go all the way down to the shell holder, you'll leave that bulge near the case head. Now we might leave a little bulge anyway, because again, because of the little bevel inside, they make it very difficult for the resizing die to be able to resize all the way down to the head. But that bulge isn't really a problem. It doesn't look as good as we'd like, but it really doesn't cause any problem for the ammunition quality. However, in all the years I've been shooting .357 Magnum, there was one case where the head of the case blew off right there where the bulge was, and that was shooting a full-bore H110 load. Now sometimes we can actually go like this and get that die seated right, but then when we open up our press, we go ahead and give it an eighth of a turn more. And what that does is when we go down to the bottom of the stroke, there's actually a little bit of compression to take away any kind of press bounce. Now another solution is to use shell holders that are shallower on the top to allow the resizing die to get down better. Now Hornady makes a series of those shell holders that have the shallower tops. They can also be used for bump sizing brass, but Hornady doesn't make those for every caliber. Well, we got background shift here, and the reason why is now we're going to discuss the bulges near the case necks caused by seating the bullet. Now usually we don't have too many problems because our sizing dies, whether made by Lee or RCBS or any of the companies, all the sizing dies and the bullet components and, for instance, the thickness of the brass, all this kind of thing, are all together with SAMI specifications so that when we go ahead and use all these things, we don't get much of a bulge here. The one variable factor that causes the bulge here is the diameter of our bullet. If we're getting cast bullets we need to check to make sure that the size of the cast bullet is within specifications so that this bulge is minimized. In case of the .45 Colt, we would expect the bullets to be somewhere around 0.452 inches. Maybe up to 4.525 or 4.53, but no bigger than that. If we're going to seat bullets that are bigger than that, we're going to invite this bulge. Because, for instance, this expander plug in here is set at 0.451 inches. So if our bullets are 4.52, the necks have already been expanded to 4.51, we're only going to create a bulge that is 0.001 on both sides, which is 0.005 on one side and 0.005 on the other. So this is not much of a bulge. The reason why we get a bigger bulge is our bullets are bigger. And this, of course, will affect our cast bullets. This happens to be, again, the Lee 200 grain semi-wide cutter tumble lube cast bullet. And they happen to mic out at 0.453 inches after powder coating. Well, it's fine because this little bulge is not much, and these cases, this ammo feeds very well, especially since we run these cases, this ammo through the Lee factory crimp die to create the crimp and assure that there's functioning, because the Lee factory crimp die sizes away the bulges to the point that we have good feeding and good functioning. So really, that kind of bulge is very acceptable in our reloads. If you get more than that though, you'll get an unacceptable bulge. For instance, if your bullets are 0.454 inches or bigger. Well, the way you take care of that is you can size your bullets from 4.54 back down to 4.52 and then go ahead and load them. 4.53 bullets like these can be loaded as a workable compromise, and no problem with it actually. I don't mind that bulge, and depending on how a light hits, you can't even see it. Now it just so happens that I have an old .45 Colt 1917 revolver made by Colt, and it's been rechambered to .45 Colt, and the chamber throats on that revolver are 0.454 inches, so I need bullets that are 0.455. So I casted these actually to have 0.455 diameter. And when you go ahead and load those, now I've saved you the trouble of seeing these loaded, but to save you the trouble, I went ahead and seated these bullets, and you'll see the pronounced bulge right here caused by those bullets being that big. And even running them through a Lee factory crimp die will not correct that to the degree that is gone by visual look. Now these rounds will feed, they'll function, but because you have the bulge here and the little bulge here, doesn't look as good as factory ammo. But if you don't look real close, it's not that bad. And besides, I'm only going to be using those bigger bullets for that one revolver anyway. But this illustrates the bullet bulges caused by big bullets. Here's another example. This happens to be a .44 Magnum, and I've got a duplex load here, 2 round balls, and to work in the Marlin Model 1894 that has a microgroove rifling, I actually have to have bigger bullets. So that gun shoots .433 bullets real well. Well, .430 is the normal bullet for a .44 Magnum, but again, that 1894 needs bigger bullets. I need the .433 bullets, and when you load .433 bullets, you get that bulge caused by the second ball in there. So you see, that bulge doesn't look good, but we have to accept that kind of thing if we're dealing with special cases with our ammo bullet needs. It's okay. This will function well and shoot well. You can actually feel that bulge, but that's okay. Again, you have to accept that kind of thing. Now look at these .44 Magnum reloads. There's the crimp. Cases are all sized nicely, and these happen to be full Magnum loads. Now when everything is balanced well, these cast bullets are at .430 inches. You see? .430 bullets, which is 1/1000th of an inch bigger than the chamber throats on my Ruger Super Blackhawk revolvers. And that's what you want. It also happens to be the perfect balance so that by the time you size the case and expand the inside of the case neck and then seat the bullet, you get minimum bulge. But you get very good neck tension, you get good crimping. So you can see a little tiny bit of the bulge here from the resizing operation, but it's very minimal. And the bullet hardly makes any kind of bulge in the case at all. Very similar to factory ammo. So when things are all balanced perfectly and you're able to have that balance, your reloads can look very, very professional. Now, had this brass been wet tumbled instead of dry tumbled like these are when they were cleaned, you would have a lot better finish on this brass too. So indeed, these would look like factory ammunition. But as for the bulges, you see, no bulges here. Not like the other bulges, the reloads that we have, out of necessity. So Jeff Thomas, may you get balance in your reloading. See you next video. Bye for now.